Hello, my friends. Drak here. And, well, this vlog is kind of unexpected because I didn't really think I was going to be doing the coverage, but people have been asking for it, and frankly, some of the announcements were awesome. So, officially 1 year ago, Blizzard came to Gamescom 2015 and announced World of Warcraft Legion, and got the hype train a-buzzing for that. So much so that people were really excited when BlizzCon rolled around. We got even more information on Legion, and now here's the thing. Legion was very, I want to say, Overwatch and Warcraft focused, but we didn't really see much from any of the other teams. This time around, however, Blizzard came to Gamescom with every one of their teams, at least representatives from each one of their teams, just to say, you know, this is what you're expecting, maybe even get the hype train going before BlizzCon 2016. And so people have already been asking for my reaction on some of the announcements that have happened. So let's go ahead and get into the... I'm going to try and go down the line as much as I can, but there was a lot to take in. Let's just go ahead and start at Warcraft, because Warcraft had some of the bigger announcements for it. One of which was a little bit more detail going into Legion, as well as being able to say, you know, like all of this customization that you would be able to do, all of the awesomeness that you can get in there. And in turn, actually, this is going to loop into a question that I have been getting. So, when I did Legion beta coverage, I covered the artifacts. But I had since been getting comments saying, are you going to do the class hall campaigns because they're different? I'll admit, I kind of brushed that off because I went and sat there. I sat there in my head and went, how can they be that different? Because the Garrison campaign wasn't that different. And I think that advertisement was made once or twice before we got a more generalized Garrison campaign. So, since this is a class hall campaign, it is class-oriented. And they actually confirmed that it was going to be unique for each of the classes. There are some threads here and there that are connected, that happen for everybody else. But there's different motivations for the organizations that you work for. If you're a mage, the Tiras Guard might have different motivations for doing the things that you do than the new Order of the Silver Hand might for paladins. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Yes, I'm going to be doing full story videos. I don't know if I'm going to do full story videos for the zones, because Tale of Drakfu will pretty much take care of that. But I will be doing Class Hall campaign videos, basically going into each of those steps, recording them, and then bridging them all together, or maybe even segmenting them into parts and just saying Monk Part 1, Monk Part 2, Monk Part 3, kind of thing. I haven't figured out the details yet, but yes, I will be doing the Class Hall campaigns for each one of them, because class lore is something that this expansion is emphasizing, and I couldn't be happier, because I'm kind of an ultaholic anyway. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what each of the classes will do. They will probably be on my mains, on those classes, and I'm just going to burn through them and get the class halls out to you as quickly as I can. It means I'm going to be horribly burned out on WoW, but we'll make it work. And I'm already going to be recording a bunch of WoW material anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Also, the other thing too is, am I going to do the profession quests? Originally, I didn't think that there was going to be too much there. Like, we were going to get profession quests. Sorry, guys, I've been recording videos quite a bit today. I didn't think there was going to be a whole lot there. I thought maybe we'd get one or two quests. You know, Blizzard tends to exaggerate a couple of times, every now and then. But now they're talking that there's going to be full-on campaigns for tailors, for enchanters, for all of that. So, yes, I'm going to be covering the profession quests as best as I can. I'm going to... First of all, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to do my homework on the matter and see how much there is actually to it. And that'll pretty much define it. But as long as you guys want the story, let me know, and I will do the leatherworking profession quest, the mining profession quest, all of that stuff for you guys, because I do love the story just as much as some of the others that have made it very clear that they want to see more story from me. So that's going to be happening. So I was able to clarify that, but that's all the Legion stuff. We got big announcements for Warcraft. We got a first look into patch 7.1, Return to Karazhan. So we got a trailer, we got a bunch of new information, and if you guys haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. It's amazing. I'm totally excited for Return to Karazhan. Karazhan is actually one of my favorite raids of all time. Especially, you'd think that it wouldn't be, considering I spent a lot of my time in Burning Crusade there, but every time I go back, it's still just amazing to walk through. So I'm really glad we're going back to Karazhan. Now, Karazhan's not the raid. It's going to be repurposed into a 5-man dungeon with 9 bosses. So, big thing to take from that. With 9 bosses. I think right now it is the highest amount of bosses in a 5-man in expansion content. I don't think we've ever hit anything above like 3 or 4. I'm trying to think about it. In Mists we didn't. Maybe we hit 5 a couple times. Yeah, that's it. Like, we hit 5, but the last time I remember there being so many bosses was probably Halls of Origination and Cataclysm with 7. So 9 bosses, and we don't, at least from the information I could gather, we don't know if these are just going to be revisiting the old raid bosses, or if there's going to be new bosses. My guess is it's going to be new bosses, because the trailer indicates that the demons would be taking over Karazhan with the help of Morose. So Morose will probably be a returning boss, but are you going to get things like Nether Spite? Probably not. You instead might get a Dreadlord in that case. I really do hope, though, that things like the chess event are not harmed. I actually would love to see the chess event come back as a boss, and maybe even like revamped, either as a homage to the movie or to, since this is dealing with the Legion, maybe instead of dealing with Alliance versus Horde on that board, we're dealing with Legion versus Azeroth. That might be cool. But I really want to see like as many bosses return as possible. So things like Shade of Iran. I don't know if you could probably get rid of Ottoman the Huntsman. But and here's the thing too. There are 9 bosses. I have a feeling there's going to be a bunch of, before people start lamenting, there are going to be a bunch of optional bosses. It's going to be like Zul'Gurub, where you don't necessarily have to take every boss out to unlock Jindo. You can do 2 or 3, and then Jindo becomes unlocked, which is usually what people do anyway. and there's nothing wrong with that. So at that point, I think that there will be a bunch of optional bosses, probably that will have things like combat pets and probably even some gear that people will need. So like, it might be the perfect thing to do like a guild run in there. Like your bear tank needs these boots, and the only place that you can get these boots is in Karazhan. That's how you would do it. So I'm really looking forward to it. Now, there is actually a rumor going around that this is not going to be Karazhan, because you will be able to raid Kara still. The BC raid is staying in because of all the combat pets that are in there and all of the awesome stuff, including mounts, that you can still get in Karazhan. So you will be able to access this. The thing that has been going around that instead, because there is actually a second instance portal at Kara at the top. And so a lot of people are going, okay, well, that's where it's going to start. We're going to start at the top and we're going to work our way to the bottom, except this time we're going to be dealing with a lot of demons. I would love that. But again, I don't want too much of the bosses affected. I want to be able to see things like Shade of Iran still in the game. I think Morose will stay, but it would be awesome to see like a corrupted curator. That might be great. So there's a way to be able to do it. The other rumor that is going around is that this would actually not be Karazhan. It would be the opposite Karazhan. So if people know the lore, Karazhan reflects its owner, the Guardian Medivh, in the fact that there's actually a separate side reflecting the possessed the avatar of Sargeras that lived within Medivh. So much so that you've seen the videos on YouTube, and if you haven't, they're easy to access. You can get just really horrific areas in Karazhan for no other reason than it's Sargeras. So at that point, a lot of people are speculating this is going to be the opposite side of Karazhan, and we're going to be able to see even more horrific imagery, especially since I guess around the time 7.1 they're guessing is coming out would be October, November. I don't know if I think it's going to be more along the lines of December, since they said they were going to stick to a 4 to 5 month cycle. But that might be cool to have some horrific imagery in Karazhan to reflect Sargeras instead of Medivh. I don't know how accurate that is, because they're also saying, you know, we want to be able to cater to the nostalgia factor. And therefore, in order to cater to that, you have to go through the Tower of Karazhan. As much as I would want to go through opposite Karazhan, I don't know if we're necessarily going to do that. So, first of all, I'm excited. Oh my gosh, I've been squealing about this ever since I saw the trailer. Seeing Morose welcoming the demons into the tower is great. And I'm excited. I have no problem admitting that, people. It is great to hear. In fact, me and my older brother, like, we both have such fond memories of Karazhan. We're going to be doing this a lot, I think, and we're going to have fun with it. So the other updates that happened was there's actually a possibility. So when 7.1 was originally announced, it was just going to be a dungeon patch. And then the next patch would be a raid. They're actually now saying that there will be a raid in 7.1, and it will, quote, wrap up the Stormheim questline. So I don't know what that necessarily means. I'm guessing it's going to be a raid of Odin versus Helia. Maybe even involve Gen and Sylvanas. I don't know. They didn't really give a whole lot of details. A lot of people are already speculating, are we going to find out what the deal that is made with Sylvanas and Helia at the end of the Helheim dungeon? We may find out what that is. I don't know. But this is supposed to resolve that stuff, so I'm guessing, yeah, we might find out at least a little something about it. So I'm excited for that. I don't know if it's... They've been kind of back and forth on it being an official raid tier, because this expansion is supposed to have 3 raid tiers. So I don't know if it's going to be an official tier. I believe... yeah, because Nighthold and Emerald Nightmare are supposed to be their own thing. So that would basically make this another tier. I'm 50-50 on it. I don't think it will be. I think it'll just be a nice little intermediate raid that gets thrown in there. I still think 7.2 will be the next major raid tier, and it will be a bigger it'll be a bigger patch than it sounds like this will be. I'm not knocking the Stormheim raid. I think it'll be a good one, but it might just be the equivalent of Heimdall, where you can get some good gear in there, but it's not very long, or actually a better comparison might be Trial of the Crusader. It might be like a loot pinata kind of thing, and it will resolve the quest, but it's more along the lines of you go into an arena, you fight bosses, and that's what you do, kind of thing. I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that might be what they're aiming for. Something to get the hype going, especially for the raiders, until 7.2 hits and we get the next major raid tier. Which, I'm holding my breath. I'm really kind of hoping it's Nazjatar. Because I would love to be able to see some Naga expansion. Maybe even go back into the Neptulon storyline? I don't know. So that's pretty much the major Warcraft news that happened. Let's get into the other stuff. So the next big one that I think had a bunch of news announcements for it was I was going to say StarCraft. That's not the case. It was going to be Heroes of the Storm. So we got an announcement for the next big campaign thing next big event that they're going to be doing in the Nexus. People might remember last year it was the Eternal Conflict, and so everything was Diablo themed. You got a bunch of Diablo heroes, you got Diablo battlegrounds, things like that. This time around it is Machines of War, I think is what it's called, and it's going to be StarCraft themed. So we're going to get 2 brand new battlegrounds, Braxis Hold, and I can't remember the I think it's Warspear Junction. We're gonna get 2 maps for StarCraft 2 that are StarCraft 2 themed. One of which is gonna be like Terrans versus Zerg, and you actually have to build up your Zerg, and then you get the big payoff of having a Zerg rush on the Terran base. I'm guessing there will be a big Terran rush instead, or maybe it's the Terrans that are actually capturing the Zerg. I'm not 100% certain on that, but that's my guess, is that one will be Zerg themed and you'll get a Zerg rush, and the other one you'll get like a Terran assault kind of thing. It's going to be a 2-lane map with a boss and like 4 merc cans. Yeah, it's 1 boss only. So that's already interesting. It looks really good from what I've been able to see on the trailer, as well as the screenshots I've been able to get. I'm excited for it. Warspear Junction is going to be an objective-themed one, as well as most battlegrounds in Heroes of the Storm are. But this one is going to be based around the StarCraft Ghost. And so what you're going to be able to do is get access to nuclear warheads. Yeah! Yeah, baby! You're going to get access to nuclear warheads, and you will be able to do your own nuclear launch detected. And it will be a 3-lane map with 2 bosses, 4 merc camps. And the biggest aspect of that is that you will be able to collect these nukes. You will actually be able to have multiple nukes, so you can coordinate your nukes. You can actually just go to the core and just bing, 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 all 4 nukes, boom, GG, we're good. So I'm absolutely excited about that. But if you die, kind of like with the Blackheart's Bay coins, if you die, your nuke goes back into play, and the person who killed you can get your nuke. So that's actually a nice touch that they can do. So everything is centered around nuclear launch detected. Yeah, I'm actually excited for Warspear Junction than I am for Braxis out or Braxis Hold. I think I'm probably getting these ones mixed up because I just barely saw all of the coverage. The other thing too that we're getting is 2 hero announcements so far. One of which is, yes, I'm so excited for this one, Alarak from Legacy of the Void, played by John Delancey. Oh, he's like my favorite character from Legacy of the Void, and you can play him as a melee assassin in Heroes of the Storm. I'm absolutely excited from what I've been able to see in his trailers and all of his abilities. I'm kind of surprised that they built him as a melee assassin, whereas he could have been like an interesting specialist, or actually, considering he's dual wielding the Zealot blades, you actually probably could have had him as like an anti-Artanis. You could have had him like as a dotting warrior to be able to mess up the assassins on your other team. But that's what they've been able to do with him. He looks really good, and I'm excited to be able to play as Alarak. I have a feeling he's going to have a difficulty curve like most of the StarCraft characters do, but I'm okay with that. The other announcement actually wasn't a StarCraft character, so Overwatch fans rejoice. We now have our second Overwatch hero in the Nexus with Zarya. Zarya is coming into the Nexus, and they actually did confirm most of her toolkit is still intact. You still will be able to use her ultimates, and so Overwatch fans rejoice. You can now get into even more of Heroes of the Storm. And also, one of the things that I've seen as a major complaint that has been going on the last couple of BlizzCons is, are we going to get more shapely women in the Nexus or in other games? And Zarya is a perfect example of that. I especially loved all of the skins that we got for Zarya. We got a Valkyrie kind of, or a what was it, Thunder Guard Zarya, but it's Valkyrie. It's a Valkyrie, and I love it. So I was absolutely excited for that. I'm just excited because Zarya is one of those characters in Overwatch that I mess around with here and there. I do love the fact of being able to put on your own bubble and putting bubbles on other people. That's an interesting way to think of a defensive character. And so I love the fact that they kept her kit pretty much intact in this in Heroes of the Storm. So that's a great announcement. But I have a feeling we're going to get a bunch more character announcements that are going to be StarCraft themed in November when BlizzCon hits. So I'm excited for that. In case you guys can't tell, I'm excited. The other announcements, we did have Overwatch announcements, some of which I believe are going to hit in the next little bit. First of all, Gamescom did, I think, get the reveal for the Last Bastion animated short, which is they're starting up their Series 2 of animated shorts and starting with the robot character Bastion. I have not been able to get my hands on that yet. That will be a separate video because I want to be able to give that its due time. Instead, the major announcements that we got was the repimping of the Rio Olympics and all of the outfits that you can get there, and the special bonus game that you can get for Lucio, which I still need to get around to doing because I like Lucio, and that's at least something I want to look into and see how well it plays. But the big announcement that we got was the first new battleground for Overwatch, and it's going to be Eichenwald Castle. Castle Village. Eichenwald Castle, I think is what it was actually called. It's in the middle of Germany. It is actually the place of a major battle in the Omnic Crisis. So at that point, you're going to see a bunch of like just dead robots all over the place, and they all, ironically or weirdly, look like Bastion units. Makes you wonder why that animated short is called Last Bastion. So we're going to have that, and also we do get a little bit of Reinhardt lore. Apparently the first Crusader armor wielder before Reinhardt actually died here, and you actually get to see his armor in the middle of the castle, and it was a really great shot of it. And it's also going to be like a hybrid payload map, which gets people even more excited. My guess is that the payload is going to start off in the village, and you have to get it up to the castle, or the other way around. Maybe whatever is in the castle, you need to get out. So that is going to be an interesting map to be able to go look into, but already the screenshots for the village and the castle are amazing, and I'm looking forward to getting into that when it comes out, and I think it's due next month. So Overwatch fans, rejoice. You get a brand new Battleground next month. And then we kind of peter off into the other kind of announcements. I wish I could say better stuff about them, but there really wasn't a whole lot to go into. Diablo 3. They basically pimped everything that they've been pimping for the last couple of appearances that they made. Nothing against the Diablo team, but it's one of those things where I am again emphasizing we need either Diablo 4 or we need an expansion pack for Diablo 3. I'm not saying that Diablo fans don't have anything to do in Diablo 3 or even Diablo 2. They're still supporting Diablo 2, and I'm guessing they'll start supporting Diablo 1 at some point. I don't know. So I love the fact that they're doing that, but the first thing that came to my mind when I was watching that interview is, when's Diablo 4? When is a new class coming in Diablo 3? When is a new area coming in Diablo 3? And unfortunately, they didn't really have a whole lot of that. They instead talked about a lot of collectible pets that you can get in the game, as well as re-emphasizing things like the set dungeons and treasure goblins, things like that. So I wish I could say there was a whole lot more for Diablo 3. There really wasn't, and that was kind of disappointing. But I'm glad that the team is still dedicated. The next one was Hearthstone. They didn't really have a whole lot to announce either because, well, One Night in Karazhan just barely came out, and its wings aren't even completely out yet. It's got the prologue, and it's got the first wing. I think by now it actually should have the second wing completely out, and then they have 2 more wings. So we got some hints towards new cards from those wings, and that's cool. But we didn't really get a whole lot that we didn't already know from Karazhan. If you guys want to see the big reveal, I did Drak tries One Night in Karazhan, and you get to see kind of the start of the journey that you go with Medivh, getting ready for the big party in Karazhan. So that's something that people can, or that Hearthstone fans can look forward to. I have a feeling that One Night in Karazhan will take up a good portion of their time for the moment. And that was pretty much the Hearthstone stuff. Is you get to see new cards. There are new wings coming out pretty soon. There's a lot to look forward to. The final one was StarCraft 2. Now, rumors have been flowing around that we might actually get a remastered StarCraft 1. That was not mentioned at Gamescom, from what I can tell. I looked around. I didn't see any official announcements of StarCraft 1 remastered happening at Gamescom. That doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist. In fact, that is probably an announcement that I don't think they would take to Gamescom. I think they would take that to BlizzCon and announce it to the universe and get their reaction. So it wasn't there from what I can tell. And a lot of what they had to bring was hyping Nova Covert Ops, which I haven't gotten my hands completely on all of the new missions for Nova Covert Ops, but I've already seen some of the reviews. They aren't promising. So I'm already worried about that. But they pimped out the last 3 missions coming out for Nova Covert Ops. They also pimped that we might be getting a new mission pack involving I think it's Egon Spenglin. It's like an Egon reference. He was in Wings of Liberty. He was the scientist that worked with Jim Raynor, I believe. and now he is dealing with terrazine gas quite a bit, and so you get to go on a journey with him. We didn't get much more than that, aside from he wants to collect terrazine gas. So that might be the new mission pack. That might be a little bit more entertaining than Nova Covert Ops. I don't know. The biggest one was that they said they had a bunch of new co-op missions coming out. They didn't really go into too many details on that. Actually, you know what? That might have been the co-op mission, was Egon Spangleman. I'm not sure. I know that they said mission, that you would have missions with him, but it actually does sound to me like a co-op mission. But they said that more co-op missions would be coming because StarCraft fans are loving them. I wouldn't know. I've messed around like with one of them, and I'm not saying I didn't find it entertaining, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do long term. So that was pretty much the StarCraft announcements that they had. And as much as I want to be excited for a brand new mission pack and new co-op missions, it's one of those things that if they actually announced StarCraft 1 Remastered, that would have gone a lot farther with me. Being able to play StarCraft 1 in beautiful 1080 and in all of the glorious art that they've been able to do in StarCraft 2 would have been a better sell, at least to me. And that pretty much wraps up the Blizzard coverage for Gamescom. Now, people will probably already mention there were a bunch of other Gamescom announcements. It's almost like we have a podcast to cover some of those. So, stay tuned this Saturday. We will probably be covering a couple of those announcements from Gamescom. But this was mostly for the Blizzard announcements, since I guess there was some speculation on whether or not they were even going to come back to Gamescom this year, and they did, and they brought even more for people. So Gamescom might be something that they do on a more regular basis. I mean, it's Blizzard. They usually just wait till BlizzCon to announce things, because they don't really need to do things like E3. But it's nice to see that they go out to places like Gamescom and show what they have. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, I will see you guys for the next bit of whatever coverage I'm doing at that moment.